How you doing, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in to another edition of Chomping at the Bit. This one got to talk about the GOAT, Tom Brady. Went on to Joel Klatt's Big Noon Conversations. Spoke about everything from the current state of college football to his NFL career to now his career in the booth. But mixed in, he did have some interesting insight into today's star quarterbacks. Get into all that. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description so you can go check out the interview after the fact. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase a lot that happened in it because I thought it was an interesting conversation, touched on some things that I agree with, some I found kind of interesting, and would love to hear from you, obviously, how you feel about it. So we got Joel Klatt, who was Fox's lead college football analyst. And, his show and these little conversations are kind of interesting. Like Joel Klatt is good at what he does. Tom Brady is Fox's lead NFL analyst. So obviously the connections there. They've done some broadcasts together, whatever. Now the conversation starts with college. Brady goes into the fact that college football now is commercialized with NIL, where now players are deciding where they're going based off of money that the school can give them, saying that's a large responsibility to give to a guy who's 17, 18 years old without them kind of understanding the pressure that comes along with it, but also talked about the fact that some of these players now, probably because of them being such stars in high school and before that, and kind of being, I guess, coddled in a bit and put on a higher pedestal than probably some of their other teammates. You get these guys who get to college, it's not as easy as they think it's going to be. They get locked up in like a position battle, and instead of sticking around and fighting for their position, it's much easier for them to now just be like, oh, you want to go with this player, my playing time's getting reduced, I'm supposed to be the big man, I'm just going to go over here, go play for them, and start over there. Brady didn't do that. Brady at Michigan had to battle with Drew Henson. They split time. Drew Henson was seen as the better prospect because he had the better, athleticism and everything. We all remember Brady's uh, combine tape. He didn't look like a guy who should be an NFL quarterback. Like, let's be honest. But Brady talking about his time in Michigan, he said Bo Schembechler hammered into his head that it's all about team success, team development, team camaraderie. That's what mattered. And like once again, Brady said he feels like that gets lost with today's athletes because it's just not being taught the same way. Quarterbacks will go out there, have great games. The conversation automatically becomes, how come these other guys couldn't raise their level? How come they're not on the level with the star quarterback? And that's where Brady's kind of talking about college football is in a spot right now that he doesn't necessarily agree with, because physical development is easy. As Brady put it, you can go on YouTube or Instagram and you'll find more videos about how to throw a football now than when he was going through the process of college and everything. But the mental development, the emotional development, Brady says you don't see that at all. And that's one of his issues with college football. He loves the game, obviously, because he's a big Michigan fan, but that's something he'd like to see, I guess, the focus switch to, more team oriented, stuff. But they went on as well to talk about the habits of quarterbacks. And Brady talked about how, because Joel Klatt asked him, quarterback that reminds Brady of himself. I feel like this should have been the obvious answer. He went with Mahomes, the guy who's won the most titles of the quarterbacks right now, the guy that people link to possibly reaching that GOAT status with a Tom Brady. And Brady said, yeah, Mahomes is the guy that, because he's done it over and over, when you need a big game, he's the guy you would turn to. Makes sense. Obviously, despite what happened in February, which Brady was there for, when um, Mahomes and his Chiefs came up short against the Eagles in kind of embarrassing fashion. But we know Brady's gone through those. You remember was it the game against Cincinnati that one year where they got blown out? I think it was Monday Night Football. You had like Tom Jackson talking about they hate their coach and stuff. So Brady's gone through those games where you get blown out and you kind of have to bounce back from it. Also, I guess quickly going back to college, they did talk about Bill Belichick, which, the relationship between Brady and Belichick was highly kind of publicized during his last years in New England. Brady talked about how Belichick did a lot for his career because Belichick is has such a good football mind, and his ability to watch tape, come up with offensive game plans as well as defensive game plans. We all know Belichick as a defensive head coach, but Brady said, yeah, offensively, he can come with a game plan that's going to work because he just breaks down that much film on a daily basis. So the question was about, what's Belichick going to do with North Carolina? Brady said he figures that North Carolina will produce kids that will be ready for the NFL because Belichick's going to have a big influence on getting them prepared for the next level. They didn't talk about wins and losses or anything like that, or will Belichick deliver a national championship? They didn't talk about anything like that. But Brady said the work ethic and all that, Belichick will instill that in those kids. Now, the concern, I guess, that Brady has is it's one thing for Belichick to do it on the NFL level with guys who are a little bit older. Now to do that with student athletes on a collegiate level where you don't get as much time with them, they have other things they have to deal with. Brady wants to see if that becomes something where Belichick's trying to put too much on these kids and they can't fully grasp everything. So I guess he wants to see, like, can Belichick kind of adapt his approach to the college way of, life. Once again, very, very good conversation there. So then, I guess to bring it back NFL wise, they looked at the quarterbacks who haven't been able to get it done yet because Mahomes has had such a, I guess, grip on the Super Bowls and everything since he's been in the league. They're looking at, I think Joe Klatt mentioned Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jaden Daniels, C.J. Stroud, I believe was the sixth that he threw in there. Asked Brady about his opinion on who's going to be the first one to win a title out of those six. Brady said he is not into hypothesizing or predictions like that because he doesn't know what they do on a day-to-day level, which I guess was Brady talking a bit about himself and what he did on a day-to-day basis, because Brady talked about how even if there were no coaches around and he wanted to get some guys together to do a walkthrough, he'd organize a walkthrough. He didn't need coaches to be like, let's go ahead and go out there and do a walkthrough. Brady would take it on himself to do that because Brady's mind was, yeah, as the quarterback, you can play great, but if the guys around you aren't playing at their best, you're not going to win at a high level, which he was kind of saying those guys who definitely are skilled enough to do so, are they lacking in that department, and that's why they haven't done it yet. And he can't sit here and say that, oh, this guy's going to do it because he hasn't seen them do it yet. So he's wanting those guys to prove to him that they can do it before he sits there and tries to, I guess, anoint them as the next guy to break through, which I think is a good point. And Brady kind of elaborated with this with the college talk, but it kind of went to the NFL as well. He was talking about some of these guys are superstars from a young age, they kind of get shielded by people where, they put up numbers, the others don't. They don't necessarily blame them. They almost make excuses for them for why they haven't got it done. And I think that's where Brady was talking about the mental and the emotional aspect of it. It almost seemed like Brady was somewhat alluding to maybe they do it to protect the player from, I don't know. I guess I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he was saying that that's a big problem where you should be okay with failing with 75,000 people watching you. That's how you get better. Some guys, they do it and they kind of exclude them from, the talk about where they came up short. And Brady's like, that's not how it should be. You're the quarterback. You're the CEO of the team. It's your job to get everybody up to your level. I mean, we got to look at some of those guys in the top 6 that Joel Klatt was talking about. CJ Stroud, we'll start from there. Great rookie season, a bit of a step back in his second year. What's he going to do in his third year? Can he bounce back and get Houston, a team that has talent on it, further in the playoffs? Jaden Daniels, rookie season, really great. Can he bounce back, repeat that his second season? Now, they did make the NFC title game his rookie year. Obviously, the next step would be a Super Bowl, but as a second-year quarterback, there's going to be tape on him and everything like that, but is he doing those things to keep the team at the level they need to be? Now, for Burrow, Lamar, and Josh Allen, those are guys who have seen some success in the playoffs, but not enough to win a Super Bowl. Burrow's the only one of the 3 who's been to a Super Bowl, but obviously he lost to the Rams a couple of years ago. Allen and Lamar have won MVPs, but have come short of making a Super Bowl. I think the question is there with those two. Why? There are some who say, well, Lamar and Josh Allen, they don't have enough help or whatever. It's interesting to say, especially when they had enough help around them to win MVPs, but not enough to win the Super Bowl. The blame's got to go. Some of that blame has to go to the guy leading the team, but whatever. So I thought it was interesting that they talked about who the first one to break through, which I'd love to hear from you. Who do you feel like is the first one? From me, I think Lamar would be the easy answer. Josh Allen might be the prisoner of the moment answer because he just won the most recent MVP. I have this feeling that Burrow might be the first one to get it done. I think, talent-wise, he's probably the best at just being the quarterback of the 3. Obviously, Lamar and Josh Allen, mobility, much better than Burrow. But I think Burrow, if he's leading your offense, you feel better in their ability. And there's pressure on all 3 of them, obviously, this coming season. Although Herbert, I forgot, Herbert was thrown in there. Herbert is another guy where he's one of those guys where people have looked at coaching as to why he hasn't been able to get it done. The Chargers have upgraded there with Harbaugh. So now we got to see what should be holding Herbert back now. He's got the coaching in place. I feel like there is a lot of talent on that Chargers team to the point where people have the Chargers winning that division this season. But if he's able to do that, can he get it done in the postseason where he may run into a Mahomes or whoever? So, like I said, fascinating talk between the 2 of them. And then they ended with his time in the booth. Brady basically said, he enjoys it a lot. I think he kind of said like he didn't expect to enjoy it as much as he does. He understands not every game is going to be his strongest performance. He knows in his first year he had some where he may have regressed a little bit, but his main focus is to do the best he can, and that's fine with him. Not everybody's going to love what he says. Not everybody's going to love how he's in the booth, his commentary, but as long as he does his best, he's fine with it. So, yeah, I think that's about all that they talked on. And like I said, I thought the comment about mental and emotional development was interesting because I think we as fans, we look at the physical gifts of these guys and wonder how come some of them don't get it done, where you have guys like Mahomes who isn't the most physically gifted. He has a good arm, but he's not like the fastest or anything like that. Jalen Hurts, who's been part of this offseason conversation a lot about how good is he really, even though they just won a Super Bowl, he's been to one before. He's not a guy that, stat-wise jumps off the page, but maybe what separates him from Lamar, Allen, and those guys, maybe Hurts is doing those little things that Brady talked about to help his team win. Now, the Eagles are a talented group, but the same way we look at Hurts that way, if this same talented group, look at San Francisco, a lot of talent, they never got it done. If the Eagles are in the same boat, what would we be saying about Hurts? We'd be wondering if he's that guy. But for some reason, he's won with them. And it's like we're still questioning whether he's that guy. And I kind of wish during the interview that they would have brought up Hurts because of the offseason and how much attention Hurts has gotten. I'd have loved to have seen what Brady would have said about him. So maybe that's the one thing I might say I would love to see occur in the interview. But otherwise, it was a great watch. I believe it's like 25 minutes or so. So after you watch this, hit that link, go watch it yourself, and then maybe come back to the video and drop a comment on what you thought about it. But I guess my main question is, who's the next guy to be the first-time Super Bowl winner at the quarterback position? Do you believe it's Lamar in Baltimore? They should have another strong season, but we got to see, can they finally get it done in the playoffs? Josh Allen has that MVP now, which now puts him on a different level of pressure. Burrow has been to a Super Bowl. The pressure's on him to get back to one. Herbert, or maybe somebody that I didn't mention, maybe you're in the Jaden Daniels boat as the young guy to get it done. Drake May, I had to mention him, Patriots fan here. Maybe you think Tua, Kyler Murray, I don't know. You let me know who you think it is in the comment section. Would love to have a conversation with you down below. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. Come back to the channel tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing On the Ball. We will talk about the NBA schedules that have been released for, I think, ESPN, ABC, and NBC Peacock. They released their kind of big day schedules, talk a little about that. And then the main focus will be, we're doing another tier ranking. We're going to rank the, prospects of the NFL teams of winning a Super Bowl. We're going to rank them. Like I said, tune in for that. We'll love your insight. Let us know how crazy we are. We've done tier lists the past couple of weeks. They've been a lot of fun, and we're going to keep it going. So that's what you can look forward to. So enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. God bless. I'll see you later. All right.